I wanted to do something a little bit different than what I normally do, but this is a topic that I wanted to kind of start into a series. Um, I watch a lot of anime, and two things I love is anime and witchcraft or spirituality. And I recently finished the anime. I didn't finish the second season, but I watched the first season, so I will probably just focus a little bit more on the first season before I start moving to the second season. But it's called Dandadan, and a lot of animes have very much so much spiritual references or aspects to it. And there was one specific episode that really stuck out to me, and it was episode 7, which was the acrobatic Silkie. Now, the reason why I love this episode so much is because I'm somebody who works with Intranquils. I've heard so many times people, question why I choose to work with Intranquils, but they are the forgotten souls. A lot of people choose not to work with Intranquils because the way that they feel, but for me, it's more so they're forgotten spirits. They're spirits who just nobody pays attention to, nobody really cares about them. You know, I don't think they get enough appreciation. Doesn't mean that everybody should do Intranquil work. No, I only work with them because they kind of came to me, and then it was discovered, that is something that I'm supposed to be doing, is working with Intranquils. Now, in this episode, it features a woman who is an Intranquil. I'm going to put, what she looks like on the screen. And this is the pink dress lady. So she's the acrobatic Silkie. And in the show, there's a girl, and only she can see the spirit. Only she sees the spirit walking around. Like everywhere she goes, that spirit is following her. Now, with Intranquils, which is very interesting, if you have an Intranquil attached to you, if you are somebody who do Intranquil work, that spirit will only follow you around. When you contract an Intranquil to work, like when you're putting work on someone, or if you're working with them, only you will see them, and the person that you are putting that Intranquil on will see them. Now, I do Intranquil removals. So because I am gifted, I'm able to see these spirits. However, plenty of times when someone has come to me and they're trying to get a removal or whatever the case is, and I see the Intranquil, they will literally tell me, when I start describing what the Intranquil looks like to a T, they will tell me, oh my God, that is exactly what I've been seeing. Because the Intranquil was contracted to be worked, or to work that person to fulfill whatever contract it is. Now, in this show, the acrobatic Silkie, or the Intranquil woman, she is basically a spirit that never crossed over, and she attached herself to this character. And this character here is the only one who can see her. No one else can see the Intranquil spirit, because she attached herself to that little girl, or ever since that character was a little girl, she was attached to her. She had some kind of connection or bond to that person. So it's kind of like a contract. She was able to connect herself to that person. That's how Intranquils work. They have to have a connection. They have to have some kind of contract. They got to have a bond to that person. When someone is summoning or doing Intranquil work, you're basically writing out a contract, okay? Asking this Intranquil, can you do A, B, or C for me? And I will give you an offering, I will feed you, I will do this, I will, whatever it is, right? And if that Intranquil agrees to the contract, then they will do whatever it is that you're asking, whether it's drain that person's energy, cause them to have accidents, cause them to just cause, horrible things to happen to them. That's pretty much what Intranquil's job is to do. Now, the interesting part about this episode, pretty much, and I'm going to be honest, I bawled my eyes out when I watched the full episode. It made me just cry so much, because obviously she's an Intranquil spirit. An Intranquil spirit is a spirit that does not cross over. Usually people who die in horrific ways, people who have died, really tragically, have, and I'm talking about in real life, bad things that, a horrible way that somebody may have died, will normally turn them into an Intranquil spirit, because they haven't crossed over. A lot of the times they haven't realized, like, oh my God, I'm dead. But that's pretty much kind of like her backstory. It was extremely tragic, and she interacted with this person and decided to attach herself to that person because she pretty much liked her energy. Now, the very interesting part about Intranquil works, or even about the spirit, they consider her a yokai. And if you're not familiar with what the yokai is basically a Japanese term for a supernatural spirit. Intranquils are tethered spirits. they cannot leave, right? Which is why you'll notice in tranquil spirits, it's if someone dies, you can go to the same spot, the same place, and that tethered spirit is bound to that spot because that's where they died, that's where they passed away, that's where an incident occurred. So they cannot leave. They can only stay in that place. That's why you may pass a graveyard, you may pass a home, you may pass somewhere, and you'll see the same exact spirit in your house. If your house is haunted, you will see the same exact spirit, and it's unable to leave that spot. It's unable to be bound. Now, there are certain, like I said, contracts, right? They can damn sure attach themselves to you. If somebody has contracted it that way, if you are somebody who does a lot of work and you have altars, those are portals. So yes, they can absolutely, there's certain loopholes that they have. However, if it's a spirit that's not contracted, more than likely it can't just, hitch a ride unless your energy is allowing it to. But she's a tethered spirit. She's a yokai, so she can only stay in certain spots. Unable to go wherever they please. They can only be attached to a person, or they can be attached to a physical place. They can't just like, hey, I'm just going to go to this person's house, right? They can't do that. They have to be stuck. It was very interesting because in this episode, they also showed how she was able to cross over. That's very important within tranquil spirits, is making sure that, the soul is able to go to its resting place. Otherwise, in tranquil spirits pretty much will terrorize humans. They will terrorize people, especially if you're a spiritualist and you can see these kind of things, especially like bigger spirits like yokais. But a lot of the time when those energies are stagnant, they can build themselves up. So that's pretty much what happened to her. I thought this was such an interesting episode as somebody who, works within tranquils or understands in tranquils, understands, a lot of different kind of spiritual aspects, and to see that play out in the anime, I thought that was really cool. But it was one of my favorite episodes. It was a really sad episode, but I also recommend it if you're a spiritualist and if you want to get into animes that are very spiritual, that are associated with some of the work that you do, because I'm going to talk about other animes as well that I've been getting into, because Castlevania is definitely, that's one of my favorite that are up there. But they have a lot of spiritual topics as well in the anime, but this one was one of my favorite just because I do a lot of Intranquil work. So seeing her story, her backstory, seeing that she was like a tethered spirit, and they do pretty much touch on it in a very accurate way. It was very interesting to just see that in an anime, especially when some people think like, oh, it's just a show, but it was like so much more than the show, because this shit is real. I thought it was pretty cool.